Francis celebrated Mass in Lampedusa. That's the Italian island where dozens of illegal immigrants arrive every day. The altar itself was very symbolic. The base was a boat that was used by a group of North African migrants who fled their native land in hopes of a better future. During his homily, Pope Francis said one should not get accustomed to the suffering of others. He also denounced the so-called globalization of indifference.
Guardiamo il fratello mezzo morto sul ciglio della strada. Forse pensiamo, poverino, e continuiamo per la nostra strada. Non è compito nostro. E con questo ci tranquillizziamo, ci sentiamo a posto. Chi ha pianto per queste persone che erano sulla barca, per le giovani mamme che portavano i loro bambini, per questi uomini che desideravano qualcosa per sostenere le proprie famiglie? Siamo una società che ha dimenticato l'esperienza del piangere, del patire con la globalizzazione dell'indifferenza.
The Pope wore his purple papal robes to mark a penitential ceremony. He asked God for forgiveness in light of the indifference that has dominated the social issue.
Ti chiediamo perdono per coloro che con le loro decisioni a livello mondiale hanno creato situazioni che conducono a questi drammi. Perdono, Signore.
Dear Pope Francis, inspired by your words in Lampedusa, where you call us on the globalization of indifference, from which its first victims are the immigrants, I follow with passion the news of this shipwreck. The phenomenon of migration seems relevant to head of states in moments previous of elections, while immigrants stay in a forced underground life without any prospect of a legality to protect them. Politicians seem to forget that to rule you have to serve. Being yourself a head of state and a defender of immigrants, and because the doctrine of Catholic Church calls us to help those in need without discrimination by faith, race, or country of origin, I come to you to ask that you declare citizen of Vatican City those who are coming looking for a more dignified life and honest work, the stateless, the political refugees, the undocumented, with the hope that your gesture becomes an example and inspire respect for immigrants by establishing a legislation of rights that will protect all these new slaves from which nobody feels responsible, and who are also children of God. Many of the people with whom I shared this idea told me in a very cynical way that you would not hear my petition, nor will you answer any of my letters. While I know that to communicate with you, I only need to write you from my heart, I wanted to prove to those unbelievers that I was not the only person who had faith on you. This led me to create a project that I call the Francis Effect, in which in less than 3 months, we have gathered more than 14,000 signatures from more than 119 countries, from undocumented and documented citizens. We would like for you to give us an audience to give you in person all the collected signature, which we will continue to increase until the day of our meeting. Dignity has no nationality is our slogan, and our image is the Pangea, a world without borders where all belong. We face in our meeting. Un abrazo, Tania. This letter was sent recently to the Pope. I'm waiting for his answer. And for the audience. The first right an immigrant is stripped of is the right to be political. Immigrants do not need charity. They need work. They need a change of public policy, the implementing of long-term sustainable changes that include them as citizens with the right to be different. The world has expanded, but our collective spectrum of feelings and emotions has been shrunken. We are bombarded with melodrama instead of issues, with prepackaged reactive emotion instead of thinking strategies. It makes it easier, of course, to understand why the right-wing parties and extremists are gaining terrain locally and in parliament. It is a matter of emotional education. We need to start an educational process that also includes and integrates the non-immigrants. We need to provide access to an ethical education that teaches not to fear the unresolved, that unpacks the ethical instead of the moral, that talks about justice, not about law, and aesthetics that provides a space for the non-cultural, the non-accepted, and the singular. One that teaches us what to do with what we do not understand, or is it also still unformed? To teach us what to do with what will never be solved. We need to teach complex inter-emotional spaces of conviviality. What do we have to resist today as people working in art? We do not need to give immigrants access to artistic techniques, but to use art as a method and as a tactic to accessing our political life. Let's not give artistic charity to immigrants. Instead, let's work together so they can share with us the political dimension. We have to be vigilant about our own involvement in the reproduction of failed social strategies, our involvement in the institutionalization of dissent, our own responsibility silencing subjectivity. We should stop using art to imagine. We need to start using art to build the imagined. We need to stop getting it through art. We need to start living it, experiencing because of art. We need to work on a one-on-one scale. Our practice is not done out of enthusiasm. It is not to achieve a sense of self-congratulation. It is a practice that comes out of disgust and anger towards injustice. Thank you very much.
So I know I'm a pale substitute for Soraya, but she had to get on a plane. But Tania...
To a play? Theater play?
Train or plane or something. But she had a really interesting question for you that I'm going to pose to you, which is with Immigrant Movement International as a party, what happens if you win, when you win?
Well, I think one of the things that happens is, like, as I was saying, we need to start doing a very throughout educational model for for citizens who do not understand diversity and culture of other places. But also, I think the worst part will be that the immigrants are a very diverse and complex group of people that have been put in one bag as immigrant, like illegal, unwanted, and so on. But they are a very complex and diverse group of people with individuals. So I think the biggest challenge is for people to understand they are humans who are themselves and different from each other.
Thank you.
Yeah.